Hi, everybody. Sorry about the little 10-second delay there. I couldn't find the go live button, but I found it. So, yay. We are here. It's the first Friday of the month. It's February already. Hopefully, this year is going to fly by like all the other ones, and we'll all get all our quilts done and everything will be great. This month, we're going to work on a table runner that I'm making for Valentine's Day. I used my paper piece heart pattern, which I will link later on. And I also am using appliqued hearts. So we're going to just take a look at the table runner really quickly. And let's see, make sure I can see everybody's comments. And feel free to say hi to everybody as you jump on in and join us, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. I will try and keep up with the comments as best that I can. But right now, we're going to move the camera because I'm sure you'd rather see what I made instead of my pretty face. So here we go. I'm going to move this back a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. This is my table runner. It has 10 hearts on it. 5 of them are paper pieced and 5 of them are applique. Now, if you don't want to do appliqued hearts, you could always just embroider those blocks. You could also just do any kind of ruler work in those blocks. But what I decided I was going to do is I'm just stitching in the middle of each one of these pieces on my hearts, and I've already stitched some, actually most of them. I left one for you so you could see how I do it. And then I'm going to use the mini fills and maybe the clamshell in the hearts and fill in the hearts. And then I'm going to come around and do just nice little things, just little connectors, little maybe a little heart in here every once in a while, and go around my piece, maybe come up through the middle, haven't decided yet, and then go back out that way. So that's my plan. This is actually how I quilt things. I kind of have a plan in my head and then I execute it. So we're going to find out today how that works. I haven't done anything on paper. Um, I've worked with the templates that I'm using, so I'm not nervous about that at all. And I do have a little practice piece that when we get to the hearts, I'm going to stitch out with white thread so you can really see what I'm doing on the hearts. Okay, so that's the plan. I hope you join me as we go through this. And we are going to start with this particular heart. This is my paper pieced heart, which is a class on the university. It's also part of the Elevate Club, but it is on the university separately. So if you want this, the pattern's there, the whole class on how to stitch the whole thing out is on the university. So we're going to start with doing straight lines. And I have a couple of choices of templates, right? I can use my 12-inch arc. I can use any straight ruler I want. I've decided to use the Sashlee tool. And I'm going to explain why. So I have two Sashlee. I have the short one that is just the 3.5 inches or the 3 inches. And then I have the one that's 6 inches. Well, since these are longer than this template, right, the strips, I've decided to use the larger one. So that's how I decide which one I'm going to use. So I'm going to use the larger one. I do not leave the puzzle piece in my templates on the Sashlee because I only stitch on this side where the arrow is. This is the only side I stitch on. So we are going to start over here. We are going to stitch right in the middle of every one of these little pieces. Now these pieces are very narrow. I'm trying to remember, they're about, let's measure them. They're about 3/8 of an inch. So the plan is to get the stitching as close to the middle of these strips as I can get. So what I'm going to do is just kind of line up the middle, and then I'm going to stitch along there. So that's how this is going to work. I'm going to start by coming up here on this edge, and I'm going to pull my thread here. There we go. I'm using a very light pink thread. I played around with some different colored threads. This is the one that shows up the most and still goes with everything. So you could have a thread that really blends and then it doesn't show up as much, but I like it to show a little bit. So my plan is, am I in the center? To stitch down so I'm about a foot away from the edge down here. That's the plan. Okay, so off we go. I'm butting my foot up against this left edge of the template because if I butt it up against the right, I'm going to lose it when I get into this puzzle piece area, and I don't want to do that. You very easily could keep the puzzle piece in. That would be fine. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to turn my template this way. And I could, if I wanted to, stitch this whole thing so that I don't have to rotate my fabric. I may rotate it just so you can see better what I'm doing, but I'm stitching now in the middle of this piece here. And I'm looking and it's not exactly middle, so I'm going to take one stitch back and I'm going to stitch all the way to this seam allowance. When I get to that seam allowance, I'm now going to stitch in the seam allowance, so I'm stitching in the ditch up to the next little piece of fabric till I'm about in the middle of that. Now I'm going to come back here, and this is where it gets tricky. What I don't want to do is travel off of this strip here. So it ends right there, and that's where I want to stop my foot so that I can then stitch up in this direction. If you use a thread that blends with your fabric too much, it's kind of hard to see that. So off we go this way till I'm right about there. That looks good. And now I'm going to go up. I'm checking to make sure that my template is as straight as I can get it. And now I'm going to stitch in this direction. This is the one fabric, this one with the little dots on it, which happens to be my backing fabric, so I can show it to you. This is the one fabric that it's the hardest to see the stitching on. But I'm up in my seam allowance. And now I'm going to travel in the ditch up to the next one. Oops, went off the ditch a little bit. Again, went too far. And now we're off again. This time I have to come down to this one that's kind of orangey with white flowers in it. And go up this way. Again, going up to the seam allowance. And I do want to tell you one thing when you get into that, this corner here. So I don't know how many of you have taken the Quilt as you go class, or when you work with your spinning wheel number 36. That's a template where it has points on it, right, on the flower. Whenever you're in a corner or you're at a point, you always have to take an extra stitch. Otherwise, you're going to cut that corner off. So when we come down here and we stop, It's something that I just do automatically. You see how it just took an extra stitch when I stopped? But just in case, take an extra stitch. Now when you go in this direction, it's going to be a nice sharp turn. Come over here in my ditch. Got out of my ditch a little bit. Again, I'm over just a little too far. There we go. Let's see. I just every so often I'm just checking comments. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in. We're back on that fabric that's hard to see. Go up in the ditch. The only thing that I did to make sure that this was going to come out right, and you have an even number of these logs. There's 18 of them, but you go down, up, down, up. So I did that with my little finger or stiletto just to make sure that I wouldn't end up stuck down here, or, you know, you don't want to do that. So I did it. It works out fine. It's an even number. If you have an odd number, you may want to figure out the path that you're going to take. So again, we're going to come down here. I'm going to stop there, take an extra stitch. You can take an extra stitch or two if you want to. Come up this way. Come back down. We're almost done with this. The other thing that I considered doing, and I did it on one of them, and it's just, you can't really see it, was to just stitch around the ditch around the heart. And because it's a table runner, that would have been fine. The entire block is 6 inches. So the distance between here and here is 6 inches. Depending on your batting, you may be able to get away with that. So you could just stitch around in the ditch. If you needed to stitch like 3 inches apart, you could come in the middle and just do a ditch halfway through the heart, and that would be enough quilting. But how much fun is that? Like, don't you want your quilting to show? Sometimes you don't. And then I turn and I'm still in the ditch. Hopefully I'm in the middle. Where am I going down to? Just the edge of this. You don't want to make the mistake of going back over into some place that you've already stitched. And if you do, it's not that big of a deal. No one would ever notice. Let's see what, oh, we've got just one more section to do. And we're going to come down here. And then we're actually going to stop when we get to this over here. Since it's a table runner, I'm not necessarily going to bury my threads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and then go back again and lock my stitches in, and then I can cut them. And I can cut my beginning threads. If this was a quilt, I definitely wouldn't do that. I would bury my threads. I say that, and then sometimes on a quilt, I don't bury my threads. So let me kind of see if I can hold this up where you can see it a little bit better. I don't know if you can see the lines, but all of these logs have stitching in them. So there's that. I don't see any questions. So that's the paper pieced heart, and that's one way that you can quilt the paper piece heart. Like I said, you also could stitch in the ditch around. You could do line work and go against the lines of the fabric if you wanted to. You could try your heart in here. I do have the heart templates. Let's see what a that's only a 3-inch heart. That's too small. Maybe that would work. Here's the 4-inch. This is not going to work. Well, yeah, this would work. You could do a 4-inch heart in here if you wanted to. So there's another idea for stitching in this big heart if you wanted to do that. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to stitch the hearts first before I do any of the background quilting that I'm going to do. So next up is the appliqued hearts. So what I've done is I've taken just a piece of fabric that I cut wrong. So you have a little slit in there. And I'm just going to practice on this. I think practicing is really good for all kinds of things. You make sure that it works out. These hearts are actually stuck down with template fuse. I ironed it and then I cut the hearts out on Appliqued. And then I peeled off the backing and ironed them to the fabric. Now on my table runner, I did do a blanket stitch going all the way around, and I'm not going to do that today. If there's time, if people really want to learn about applique, let me know, and I will try and come up with some kind of class that we can do an applique with. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm switching to white thread. And the reason I'm doing that on this test is so that you all can see exactly what I'm doing. Because sometimes the pink thread kind of vanishes into these fabrics. And I want you to understand what I'm doing and how I'm using the templates. Okay? So the first order of business is we are going to look at the templates that we're going to use. We're going to use the mini fills. So if you don't have the mini fills, they actually go really, really quickly, even though you have to stitch them one motif at a time. I don't know if I'm going to use this one or not, but let me go over to the table and I'm going to show you how. Let me make sure that camera's on. Yeah, I'm going to show you the markings on these templates so that you can see what I'm talking about. So here we go. These are the mini fill templates. They have markings on them. I didn't bring my stiletto with me. They have markings on them on the right and the left of each design. And this here, this curve shows you where to put the template on top of the previous shape that you just stitched out. And that will keep you aligned. This line here, this horizontal line, is the line that your needle is going to be on. So this is like your baseline of your design. And these rounded things come down, and this shows you exactly where things are going to line up. So as you move up when you're doing mini fills, they work like clamshells. You want these lines to be lined up with your divot or the center of your pieces as you're moving up or down when you're using these templates. So I'm going to use the smallest shape, and I don't know if I'm going to use this template. I'm not sure. We're going to go look at the other shapes that we have, and I'm going to start stitching on the hearts. So the plan is to use mini fill on the smaller hearts and use clamshell on the bigger hearts. That's my plan. So let me put the camera back where it belongs. Okay. And I am going to tighten up my camera just a little bit. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Okay. So we're going to use this shape. It's a very oval type clamshell look. And I'm going to hold it. I want to kind of go this direction, right? So that's the direction I want to go in. So I'm going to start down here on the bottom. And I want my first shape to go from the edge of the heart to the edge of the heart. Now, the way that I'm stitching these out, they're going to be so heavily stitched that you wouldn't have to stitch them down after you ironed them down, because you're going to have enough stitching. Now, eventually over time, if you don't stitch it down the edges and you wash this a lot, these are going to fray just a little bit. Okay? So again, I'm just checking for questions. So far I got no questions. So I'll just try and keep an eye on this, and as questions come up, feel free to ask. So what I want is I want the needle. So what I'm doing is I'm just lowering the foot, and that's too high. It's too far away from the point. So I want to come down a little bit, move my template down. That's kind of where I want to be over there. Let's see what happens when I come over here. That looks pretty good. I'm still off a little bit. Let me move up just a skosh. Oops, that didn't work. There, that goes there. And that comes around. I know this is crazy, but I'm trying to get it where I can see the needle coming down. And I should get this so that I actually can hold on to the thread. The thread got really short. Now I'm going to have to start all over again. Does that ever happen to you where you lose your thread? Okay, let me get my third hand in here. Oh my gosh, I just threaded my machine. That was very smart. So let's try this again. I hope those of you that are living where this cold is at are safe and warm inside, and that you haven't lost electricity. It's very pleasant here in southern Arizona. There we go. Now we have to start this all over again. You know what? I probably could get out my spacing gauge and save a bunch of time, huh? Let's see. We want that to be a 1/4 inch away, and we want this to be a 1/4 inch away. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get right now. So I'm going to pull my thread here. Okay. And I'm going to take a couple of stitches, holding the threads, and then I'm going to stitch around. Now, the one thing with these templates is you have to take shorter stitches than you would if you were doing straight quilting or using a larger template, right? In order to get that shape. Flip that. Okay, now what I need to do is go back to center. Because if I try and travel up along here, this heart, it's going to take me forever to figure out where to go. So what I'm going to do is put my template back. Normally I wouldn't move my template, but I'm putting it back to where it was, hopefully. And I'm going to stitch to the center line. I don't know if I showed you guys, but on this template, right in the middle of the top of all of these shapes is a nice straight line. And it's right in the center. So my foot's here right now. I'm going to stitch back on top of what I've stitched until I get to this line. So I should have shown you that before. Okay, now we are, let's get the right one. This is about as close as I think I can get. Let's see what happens. I'm in the center. Now what I'm going to do is move my template up and over, and I'm going to stitch to this side, stop when I get to the edge of the heart, and then stitch back to where I'm at right now. So it's going to be double stitched. Stop, go back. Then I'm going to go to this side. I'm going to line up the curve on top of what I just stitched. That's going to make it so that I'm stitching straight. I'm going to stitch to here, and I'm going to go back to center. Now, you're going to have double stitching every so often on this, but doing it this way is going to save you so much time because you don't have to travel along the edge here and hope that you're far enough up, or maybe you've gone too far. So I always do this when I'm doing clamshells or anything like that. And now what I'm doing is I'm putting that baseline right on top of these stitches on the top there, on the what I would call the hump, right? That's where that's going. And now I can move this up, and I want that line to be on top of those stitches. I'm going to stitch out. I'm going to come back, and now I'm stitching to the right. Move over. Now this is going to be tricky. Oh, I'm okay. Didn't think I was going to be okay. I didn't think I was going to be able to get back to center, but I am. Perfect. Now I just move up again. And so see this edge of the template right here is right on the divot of my clamshell or my mini fill. Okay, this line here is on top of the previous row. So that's where I want my stitches to stop. So now what I could do is I could move over a couple stitches, come up here to the right, come back down, and that fills it all the way to the edge. That's on top of the line. This edge of the template is right in the divot of a couple rows where I first started. Move over, line that up. Move over, line this up. And again, we're going to go this way, come back to center. Get to center, move my template over, go to the left so I can fill out this row. And we're not going to, I'm not stitching into the other heart that's underneath this one, right? So there's this heart that I'm starting to stitch, and then there's this heart, and they're both going to be stitched differently. So, okay. Thread is slinky. Is that what it's, Diane, I don't know what you mean that the thread is slinky. Did someone say something about the thread? Okay. Okay, I just did one to the left. I need to line my template up and go to the right. And once you get into the swing of things, this actually goes really quickly. Just explaining everything is what takes so much time. So here I'm not going to be able to go the entire way. Stop at the edge of the heart and go to the middle. And now this, we're going to go off to the right. I have that baseline that I'm putting on top of my previous stitches to line things up. And these templates can be really deceiving. You're like, oh, I'm never going to get that right, but they work out really nicely. Let's see what we got here. Okay, this here would be like 2 stitches going off to the left. I don't think that's worth it. So I'm just going to go back up here to the center, move my template over, and go off this way. So maybe I could have added a couple of stitches, but if it's this little and it's just a couple of stitches, probably not worth it. And I hope with this white thread you can see what I'm doing. Same thing over here, not worth it, the couple of stitches to the right, so I'm just going to go back up to the center. And let's see, line my things up. Come over, line up. Line up. Center, go up. So this time I'm going to go to the left. And off we go. And now I have to be careful. I don't want to go off my heart, which is there it is right there. There's my heart. So I'm going to follow. What I did, well, let me finish this little section here, and then I'll show you what I did. Now, I can still do like a couple partials on this side. I should have gone off to the right first. That's all right. When I came up here, let me see if I can get this closer for you to see. I'm like turning my head and making sure you can see this at the same time. Let me do this. There. Ooh, there we go. Okay. So when I came up here, if I had followed the template, I would have stitched off into this heart up here, and I didn't want to do that. Okay. So now we're going to do this heart, and we're going to do the same concept, only we're going to use the mini side of the clamshell from the sampler set. So give me a sec. This is my sampler set bag. This bag here has a sampler set in it, and then I also keep straight line rulers in here, and I keep the connector set in here because I love the connector set so much. It's like such a fun template set. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, I get it. Okay, Diane, I understand now. So this one, I think I want to go this direction. I want to go in a different direction that I went with this one, because if you go in the same direction, it just kind of looks like the same template, right? It's the same. So to get a little change up, I want to go in a different direction, and I think, well, this direction, I could get myself in trouble if I go in this direction. Yeah, I might get myself in trouble anyway. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we're going to pull there, and then I'm going to stitch to here, and then I'd have to come back and then stitch. So I need to come out and pull there. If I had pulled on the clamshell that's to my left, I'm not quite sure that would have worked. Let's see. Come up here, come back to center, move this up. What I'm doing is I'm making sure that I can turn this a bunch of different ways, but I'm making sure that the center line that goes from the center of the hump down the template is actually right in that divot from the previous stitching that I just did. So I'm going to stitch to the right because we need to fill this in. And then I'm going to come back. And if I get to the point where right here, I'm on that previous heart, I'm just going to go really slow, and I just followed that heart so it looks like the stitching goes beneath the heart. Come up here. Oh, look at that. I'm right in the middle here. One stitch, so I stitched to the left and came back, stopped right in the middle. So you want to stop on the middle of the hump. And now I'm going to go this way just a little bit, just to get a little stitching in there. And now we're going to go to the right. Again, you want your stitches to be a little bit closer together. And we don't want to stitch on that. Come back and stop on the top of the hump. Move your template up, line up so that these lines are in the divots and the cross lines line up with what you've done. So that's about as good as I can get it. Okay, go up, line it up again. Hope we don't go off the top of the heart here. Okay. Now we're going to have a problem. It's not really a problem, but it's a challenge, right? If I keep going here, I may go off the, oh, I didn't go off the heart. That's amazing. If I was going to go off the heart, what I would have done is I would have moved the template out of the way, followed the heart, and then put the template back. And that's always a challenge. Now, you could come and have some more stitches come down here if you wanted to. That really, you have to follow along out here till you get to where you think you can come down, which should be around there somewhere. I don't know that I would necessarily do this because there's a lot of what I consider to be some unnecessary traveling going on here. And that's going to go up that way. Yeah, there's no, you'd have to come really, really far in here. Well, come along this way, come back down, come back up, travel around. And I think you can see what I mean by unnecessary traveling. So this is it done with white thread. And I wanted to do that with the white thread so that you could see what I'm doing, because sometimes with this pale pink thread, it doesn't show up enough. So we are going to go off to the little table runner here, and we're going to start stitching the actual hearts that we got going on here. And I have to change my thread because I want to go back to the pink thread. I was just doing the white thread so you guys could see what I was doing. But I don't want white thread on my table. So I'm going to change it. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, especially if I made anybody sick there. Did not mean to do that. I'm using a 40 weight embroidery polyester thread in the top and the bobbin, and I'm using a size, today I'm using a size 80 needle. So sometimes I use an 80, sometimes I use a 90. Always a top stitch needle. All right, let's do this little guy. Let's try a different, I'm not going to use the square ones. There's ones that look like bricks on the mini fills, and then there's the ones that are pointed. And I think that they're just a little too sharp, you know, like just a little too square and pointy for the hearts. So I want to kind of stick with that rounded look. So I have, well, there's tiles and bricks. I have two that are rounded. One that's like kind of like a mushroom in the sense that it's pretty high. And then the one that I just used, which is like a flat oval. So we're going to use the one that looks like a mushroom, and I'm going to use the mini one. And we're not going to stitch on top of the template that's underneath the fabric. That'd be bad. Excuse me. So again, we have to figure out where we're going to start here. And, you know, maybe we're going to start like this and come up this way. And then I'm going to run into trouble over there, but we're going to see what kind of trouble we can get into and how we can get out of it. That'll be a fun exercise. So we're going to start. How's this? Let's try this. Oh, we need to. I'm not at the end of my template over here. And I've got, okay. So let me get the thread out of the way. I know someone's going to ask me about this. This is a dental tool that someone told me about in a class once. And so I asked my dentist, do you have any of those rubber tip things? And he did. And that's what he gave me. So, all right, my line is right here. Anyway, that little rubber thing grabs thread. My line is right here, and that's where I have to go back to. So stitch here. And now I can come up. And we're going to see what happens. And that didn't go all the way down, but that's okay. I'm going to come back up here to the middle. Do I want to do that? I don't think I wanted to do. Oh, you know what? Let's come back here, move the template over, stitch again. And then can we go over again? I don't think so. Oh yeah, we can. I hope I'm holding the template straight, but I'm not 100% sure. So now we can go up this way. Let's get these threads out of the way. There we go. And I want to go back to the left. Come around this way. Let's see, I want this to be in the middle. I'm off a little bit. So just like in your clamshells, I need this opening of my template to be right in the center. So I'm moving over just a little bit. There we go. So sometimes you have to do a little manipulation. And then back to the center. Go up, go to the right. Now I can kind of see what I'm doing. A little bit. There we go. Oops. I wanted, no, I did want to go that way. Oh my gosh, Pam. And back. And now this should be smooth sailing. Come here, come back to center because I'm at the edge of my heart. And now I'm headed back off to the right. I can see the line here is on top of the previous humps that I've stitched. Come up. I don't know if there's too much light on my, let's see if you guys can see this if I move it this way. Yeah. I don't know if it's the lighting or the thread color. It's just a little bit more challenging to see. But I want to keep the line of my template on top of the previous row. It's really important to get to know the reference lines on your templates so that you can use them to your advantage. They're there for a reason. And now I'm going off in the other direction. So that needs to go there. And this needs to go. And I'm not in the center of my, what do you call it? I'm not hitting the center of my humps. So now I'm going to move this over. And that should get in back in center. So that one was a little tiny one. And this looks better. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when we get to the other heart up there. And then come here. And we're going to keep going. And I've got myself in a little bit of a pickle here. I was going that direction and I got my template turned this way. So now I'm going that direction. We're just going to pretend like we did that on purpose. Let's see what we can do here. That's right along the heart. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to go off the heart. And I'm not in the center again. So come up to the top, move the template over, and then come back down. Same way you adjust your clamshells if you're used to doing that. And let's see, come up here. We don't have a whole lot of room left. I I think this is going to be it until we run into some problems, not problems, till we run into previous stitching, which is where we're at. So there we go. We're going to stop right there. This is very hard to see. Pale pink thread. I don't know if you can see, but I started off going in like this, and then somehow I got turned just a little bit. Or I started off going like this and got turned right away and then went that direction. So shh, just don't tell anybody. It'll be fine. And now we're going to do the clamshells again. I wonder if we can go this way. And then when we end up here, we're going to have to come back and fill in over there. And that'll be fine. Do we want to go that way? Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to pull kind of almost at the point down here. Pretty close. So I got it. I might run out of bobbin thread. Come back up to the middle. Come up. Make sure this is lined up properly. You're lining this line that goes right, the very first line from the top of the hump. It's about 1/4 of an inch down. And you're lining that line up with the top of the previous humps that you've stitched. And now we're here. Can't go any farther. It's not in the middle. So we have to come back and find the middle. We don't want to stitch into the heart that we've already stitched. Let's see. I'm lining this up. Maybe I should have stuck with the white thread. Oops. I want to make it where you can't see. Oop, look at that. I went way off. I went off the template. Got myself back. And then we're going to go this direction. And we hit the heart. Come back to the center. And then, you know what, you guys? I think we're going to be okay here. Because we're going to go this way. We're going to come here. We can't get to the center. We're so close, but we're still going to double stitch and come back here because I can get to the center on this side. Come up. Careful that you don't line up on this part of the design because we're on this heart that's on the left, not the one that's on the right. So that looks about good. Here, we're going to come here. And then we're going to hit our little heart, move over and follow the template. There we go. Come back up to the top. Move the template. Looks good to me. So now I have, well, I stitched out this up here a long time ago. I stitched that out, not a long time ago, but just to see how things would work out with the mini fills. And now this is done. So I have this big heart and some other hearts to do. But before, I just wanted to show you how I'm going to do them. I don't know that we're going to have time to finish all of the hearts and everything else I want to do. But before I move on to the background quilting, does anybody have any questions on how I'm quilting this? Do you have the pink color in your bobbin also? Yes, I do. When finished, you can please show us the back side and also the back of the pieced one. I will. The problem is this very light pink thread hardly shows. Well, maybe you can see that. I don't know if you can. I'm going to move it back and forth a little. Maybe you can see. And then this is what the pieced one looks like on the back. Thank you, Vicki. So now what I'm going to do is get out my connectors and my hearts. And I will go back and finish the rest of these appliqued hearts later. We've already been here for an hour, and I know you guys don't want to be here all day watching me do this. So I haven't really tried this out because it's kind of hard to, like, the way that I stitch these, and they're not like, it's not a straight on heart where you could draw that on a piece of paper and then you could kind of play around with it. I didn't do that. So my plan is maybe we're going to start with a little tiny heart down here in this corner, right? Like this corner here. This is the lower left corner, or it might be the upper right corner. Do a heart and then use my connectors to come over here. Maybe do the connector loop here, come down here, and just kind of follow this, and maybe every so often where I see a bigger space, maybe put in another heart. I'm not going to necessarily put them all at the same angle. I'd kind of like to have them tilted every once in a while, I think is what I'm trying to say. So let's just see what happens. Let me find my hearts. So if you haven't, I'm going to start with it's going to have to be a small heart. I don't have room for big hearts here. So we're going to take the 2-inch heart. That might actually even be too big. No, the 2-inch heart looks like it'll be a good shape, a good size. So I'm going to get out the 2-inch heart and the little tiny 1-inch heart. And I'm going to put the 3-inch heart on standby just in case. Is that the 3-inch? Yeah, but I don't think I'm going to have room for the 3-inch in this particular one. Okay. So I'm going to show you how I do hearts when I can't mark what I'm the fabric, right? Because you kind of need to line this up on a straight line. So you can either use your spacing gauge or, oh, you know what? Do I want to come off there? No, I don't. I want to start down here on the point of the heart, not the divot of the heart. So, okay. Come on. I'm grabbing the threads, couple stitches to secure it and lock it down. And now I'm going to stitch half of the heart. I'm going to try and stay on the template. Oh, that's a good way to start, Pam. I'm going to come back later and probably rip that out. Okay, because it looks horrible. I was looking ahead. So there's a line here, right in the center. What I do is I take a smaller heart and I find a line on the template and I butt it up against this heart that I have and line that line up. Now I'm going to flip this. I'm going to line that line up again here on the template with the one that I'm holding. So this one here below, I haven't moved. This I can move back and forth. I'm going to line those lines up. And now I should, in a perfect world, come back to where I started. Ta-da! So, next up, we're going to take a connector. And I'm trying, let's see, I like this one a lot. Let's see, let's go here. We're not going to use the whole template. I'm just arbitrarily grabbing connectors and playing with them. I just want to kind of travel around a little bit. And maybe here I want to put one of those loops. So let's see, that needs to come like about there to go there. Let's travel a little bit more. Let's take this here and kind of go up a little bit. I got a nice little point down there. Okay, and then I really have no plan at all. When you use this template, remember that this line here is where you're going to end up going. I'm going to come up here, and then when I flip my template over, this line is where my thread's going to end up. So I want to take that into consideration. I don't want it to come down here. I want it to be up here a little bit, but I think I want to travel a little farther. So I'm going to just take the outside of the template, maybe travel a few more stitches. There we go. Then, much better. So now I'm going to come up. I'm going to flip my template. I don't want to be, there we go. So I'm lining up this other line. Once I flip it, I'm lining up this line right here with what I've just stitched. The foot is not going to be in the hook here. Okay? That's where a lot of people can kind of get confused. And I have my loop. I can come down here. This is my border. And now I'm going to take my connector 1 and just kind of move along. And in this next little spot here, I'm going to put a heart. So we kind of want the point of the heart. Let's see, we're going to come up here, travel this way. This is in the middle of the block, but I need it to be, I want the middle of the heart to be a little bit to the right of this line. So let's come along here. And we're going to come here and stop. And then my heart. Let's see. Do that. Flip it. Make sure I'm not hitting the. Yep. I just want to make sure that I've cleared the what I've already got on my the fabric hearts. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to stop. I'm going to take my little one. I'm going to line up that line with the line there on the template. Doesn't matter as long as you line it up with something that you can see again. Push this over there. And there. I'm trying to get this to look what I would call whimsical. Okay, where did my other connector go? Ah, there it is. Okay. I just want it to look like maybe I, did this free motion, without the aid of templates, which, I can't really do. So come down here a little bit. I kind of like the idea of doing a loop and then offsetting it with a heart, like do a loop, then do a heart, then do a loop, then do a heart. This doesn't have to be heavily quilted. So I need to do a loop in here somewhere. And that's this template. I'm just checking for comments. There are none. Oops. Let's see. My loop that's way too far away. I need to do something to get up there. So I'm just looking at the different templates and kind of deciding which one I think is going to work for what I want to do. I'm not using some of the on this one, like I was on A, I didn't use the full section. I just used part of it. So I'm really just eyeballing this, and if I was a free motion quilter, it would be fine. I'm a free motion quilter with templates. Flip this, go that way. And now I'm going to use C just because I really like it. I think it's a really fun template shape. This little sharp little squiggly, which I can then come down and do another one. And then I can do another one. Why not? Oh, I like that. That's kind of fun. And then in this area, we're going to put another heart. So let's see. We're going to have to do the heart kind of low because we don't have, because this heart, this one over here is way over to the left. So let's just do one more little squiggly. I think that's going to work out pretty well. And if we can't put the 2-inch heart in this section, we can put a 1-inch heart. So there is that. Flip that over. Oh, that's so close. Let's see what we got. We can come over just a few more stitches. Not a lot, just a few more. So let me put my little guy back down in here. And hopefully that wasn't too many stitches. Yeah. And I'm still a 1/4 inch away from the edge, so I'm not gonna go into my binding. And line this up, so there we go. Flip that guy around. I like doing this much better than the spacing gauge. I just think it's faster. And if you notice, I'm stitching the right side of the heart first, and then I'm stitching the left, because what I want to do is I want to go in this direction, do a heart, come back and cross down here. If I were to come up here, do the left side of the heart and then the right side of the heart, and they didn't match, somehow I didn't get the point exactly perfect, you would see that. So this way you don't see it. So now I think I know what I'm gonna do. I'm so excited. So I have this thing I call a hanging heart, which some of you who have seen me do other things have seen my hanging heart before, but I'm gonna put it in this corner, and I need to get to the corner. And I need just another squiggly to get to the corner. Is that going to get me to, oh, that's going to get me to the corner. Okay. So start with my 2-inch heart. Oh, I can't do that because then it stops. You know what? That's okay. I think it's okay. I think we're going to stop and flip it and do the other side. So what I'm going to do here is half of a heart. And then I get my little tiny 1-inch heart, and I'm going to do the whole heart. And this is so small that it's really easy to line it up. Or you could get out your spacing gauge. So there is my hanging heart in the corner. I like to put that on. I hide this motif in a bunch of my quilts. It's kind of my thing. So we have a hanging heart, and then we just have a regular heart and a loop and a heart and a loop and a heart. So again, I'm probably going to rip this out because it looks so bad and redo this part here. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start again on this side. But if I do, I think I'm going to start with a loop. Let's see what happens. If I do loop, heart, loop, and then hanging heart in the other corner. So I'm going to start over here with a loop. And that's on this one. Let's see. I want to come up there, come out that direction. So there we go. I'm going to start here. Pull my thread. Did it not cut on the other side? I don't think it cut. That's a problem. Let's see. Yep. Oh. All right. Off we go. Let's see. I want to make sure that where's my line coming out? There. So I kind of want to go here. Is that going to work? It'll come down a little bit. Yeah. Well, let's go this way. There we go. That'll work. And then let's see. I really like A and B. I love all the shapes. This is just like one of my favorite templates because it has so much versatility. And especially when you're dealing with something like this with applique shapes in it. Let's see, well, the heart needs to come over a little bit more this way. And I just think that these connector templates give you that nice little like trail. Like if you think of a butterfly trail or a bird trail or something like that, I think it does a really good job of doing that. Where if you're not comfortable doing that free motion like me, it's a perfect solution. And I'm going to link all of these templates in the comments here in just a minute. Okay. This is going a lot faster than I thought it was going to. Like, yay, this is great. Now we'll do this here, loop it around the heart a little bit. And then here we've got a loop-de-loo to do. It's not really called a loop-de-loo, but how do I keep losing templates? They're just like right here. There it is. Not a safe place. Now I'm going to show you something else with this template that you can do. If I flip it and put it exactly where it's supposed to be, it's going to come out kind of here, and I kind of want it to be here. So you actually can manipulate this a little bit. You're going to get a different loop, but you still can do it. You don't have to do it exactly the way the template shows you. So it's just a different, this loop here is a little bit shorter, but you just have to be careful. You don't want to, when you flip this template, you don't want to go back into the hook. Because if you go back into the hook, sometimes you get like a little jagged thing and it looks like you lost your place or got confused or something like that. So let's see what we can do here. Let's go this way. And then this one's going to be a heart. Again, the center of the heart just a little bit to the right of this. So then a loop-de-loo and a hanging heart, and I think we're going to be done. Except for to go back and do my other hearts, but I'm not going to. I will post a picture on Wesley by me when I get this thing done. Which, if I'm in town tomorrow, I can work on it tomorrow. Remember, we're going to do a loop-de-loo. I don't know why I call it a loop-de-loo, but so this would come out this direction. I want it to come out this direction. So we're going to see what happens. Flip it. Remember, you don't want to go into that point. You're going to end up with a jagged thing on you. So we want to come out just a little bit. We want it to come down about this way. So there we go. This is getting exactly the look that I wanted. And again, I want to get to this kind of the middle here. And then I'm going to do my hanging heart on this corner, just like I did in the opposite corner. And we will, let's see what's going to happen. Let's do this way. Oh, I didn't want to do that, but that's all right. I forgot. Oh, Pam. And that's there. In the center, come out. Cut my threads. So, oh, I like that. It's exactly what I wanted. That's always a good thing, right? When it comes out exactly the way you want it. And now I'm going to pan over here so you can see the whole thing. Move out just a little bit. And hopefully you can see some of the quilting on here. There we go. I'm going to leave that there. And if you need me to like go closer, I can do that. Let me just check for comments. So if you have any questions, please enter them now, because It is, I'm not going to finish it on screen or on camera. I am going to, let's see, how do I, there we go. Ooh, Chili, Kentucky. All right, I'm going to give you guys some links here. Just a second. Let me pull them up. So I use the mini fill, I use the heart, I use Sashlee, I used what else did I use? The mini fills. So I'm going to, I was going to, I'm trying to copy this. There we go. Copy that. And then come over here and paste it. Let's see if that, oh, I think it worked. So this is the Sashlee, the link to the Sashlee. And then, I want to do, let's see what we got here. Come down here, the connectors. And these are the connectors. Oh, I just got an error message. There we go. Those are the connectors. And then the hearts. This is the one for the hearts. Oh, you're welcome, Diane. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And then we have the mini fills. Oh, and I also have a link to the class if you want to do the paper piece heart. So that's the last link that I have. And that's on Sew Studies University. And for some reason, I don't think these may not be posting on Facebook, but they seem to be posting okay on YouTube. So there we go. That's it. Does anybody have any questions? I don't see any questions. Yes, Elizabeth, I just posted the paper piece pattern link where you can sign up for it at the university. And that is all I have for the day. I want to thank you all for being here. I truly appreciate it. And we will be back in March. If anybody is interested in an applique class where I could do like some little applique thing and then we can quilt it, you know, like just a little sample thing, let me know and I will try and get that together for next month. All right. So I don't see any other questions. So I'm going to go now, and you all have a great weekend, and I will see you next month on the first Friday. Thank you.